Hello, once again, this is Antonio, and I'm coming at you with another exciting video. So, the fix is in. It seems like politics has taken a new turn when politicians have went to the Colorado Supreme Court, and guess what? They asked for Trump to be removed from the ballot. Now, it doesn't matter what all the aspects or even alleged crimes that Trump has, they say he has committed. Here's the thing. It don't matter if I'm a Democrat or a Republican, independent. You can be a felon and still become president. So the question is, can Trump still win? Can he still win the presidency even without Colorado? Or are they going to start, are other state Supreme Courts going to start kicking him off the ballot? That's the question that a lot of people have, right? So let's go and play this clip.
Just got some breaking news out of Colorado. We're going to stay with Christy Greenberg and Hugo Lowell to talk about it. The Colorado Supreme Court ruling that Donald Trump has now been disqualified from being on the primary ballot for the GOP. Again, this breaking news out of Colorado. Donald Trump, as we know, was fighting to be able to be on that primary ballot. The Colorado Supreme Court now issuing a 200-something page opinion that we've just got. And we're going to go back to Christy Greenberg and Hugo Lowell. I know, guys, you haven't had a chance to look at it. We're looking at it right now. It's 217 pages. But, Christy, I want to start with you on this particular issue. This is not the first state that there's been an attempt to be able to disqualify Trump being able to be on the ballot. But what's intriguing about it is that it's now being done in a way where the judicial system is having a say in terms of whether or not somebody can be on a ballot. Your thoughts about what we're hearing coming out of Colorado at this time?
Well, it is an interesting decision because the Colorado District Judge, Sarah Wallace, last month, when she made her decision, she had a really puzzling decision where she found, based on the evidence, that Trump had engaged in insurrection, but essentially said, well, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, it doesn't apply to presidents. He's not an officer such that it applies to him, which was a really odd result. So when that was appealed, I think a lot of people had been scratching their heads and thought the appeal was appropriate. And, you know, I haven't read the basis of this, but it sounds like at least the Colorado Supreme Court said no. Actually, if he engaged in insurrection, yes, he is an officer, and the 14th Amendment would apply to him. It would be a perverse result otherwise to have it apply to members of Congress and others in lower elected officials and not to the President of the United States. So it sounds like Colorado Supreme Court got it right in finding that this should apply to the president and presumably determines that the factual findings of the district court in finding that he engaged in the insurrection were upheld. So it is a result that is interesting. It is a result that seems like the right result. The big question will be whether or not it holds, because this is surely going to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I have a lot less confidence that the U.S. Supreme Court will decide that Donald Trump should be disqualified from the ballot, given that conservative majority on that court.
I also want to bring in now former federal prosecutor and the host of the podcast Justice Matters, Glenn Kirshner. Glenn, again, I know that this is literally just coming across the wire right now, but I want to bring to our viewers' attention something that's on page 8 of this 200-page opinion. This is what the Colorado Supreme Court has held. 1, Section 3 that Christy was just talking about, Glenn, encompasses, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, let's be clear, encompasses the office of the presidency and someone who has taken an oath as president. On this point, the district court committed reversible error. And so it's cleared up that issue of how can you be the president of the United States and not be deemed to be an officer for purposes of your oath. In addition, Glenn, the district court did not err in concluding that the events at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 constituted a, quote, insurrection. The district court did not err in concluding that President Trump engaged in, and that's in quotes, that insurrection through his personal actions. And then President Trump's speech inciting the crowd that breached the U.S. Capitol on January 6 was not protected by the First Amendment. Glenn, we've been talking for days, if not weeks, about this idea of Donald Trump trying to hide behind the First Amendment to be able to give an excuse for what is otherwise going to be clear criminal conduct. Your thoughts about what this Supreme Court kind of ruling has now said as well?
You know, it's interesting, Katie, because all along it has felt like anybody with a basic understanding of the English language would read Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and conclude that Donald Trump is disqualified from serving in the event a court found that he engaged in insurrection. And what's really interesting now, getting down into the legal weeds a little bit, you know, the Colorado trial court found as a matter of fact, after a trial on the merits, a trial at which several witnesses testified, expert witnesses, witnesses who were at the Capitol that day, found as a matter of fact that Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection. And the reason that's so important as the case works its way through the appellate system now is factual findings like that are ordinarily given great deference in the appellate courts because only the trial court judge gets to see the witnesses as they testify, assesses their demeanor, and reaches factual findings. So the fact that the trial court judge, in the estimation of the Colorado Supreme Court, got the legal conclusion wrong, and the Colorado Supreme Court basically reviewed that de novo from jump and reached a different conclusion, that's one thing. But the fact that we have these factual findings from a trial court should, frankly, continue to win the day up through the appellate court system, up to and including the Supreme Court. Because as long as those factual findings are supported by evidence of record, and they were, you know, this is going to be a real danger zone now moving forward for Donald Trump.
Say hello to Brevo. Strengthen your customer relationships with our user-friendly.
So, Hugo, I think we have Hugo still, right? Hugo, I want to read something to you that we also found here. It says, the sum of these parts is this. President Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3. Because he's disqualified, it would be a wrongful act under the election code for the secretary to list him as a candidate on the presidential primary ballot. We do not reach these conclusions lightly. We are likewise mindful of our solemn duty to apply the law without fear or favor and without being swayed by public reaction to the decisions that the law mandates we reach. I mean, Hugo, we talk about some of the major cases like in D.C., Mar-a-Lago, New York, et cetera, that seem to be kind of what Donald Trump is battling in terms of a legal front. But as we were talking about with Christy a few minutes ago and now with Glenn, there's these pockets of cases that are coming up, and they're intended and designed to ensure that we don't have another insurrection, another crazy second term with Donald Trump. Is this going to change the litigation calculus, the strategy calculus for Donald Trump now, considering this decision coming out of Colorado?
I think it necessarily changes the calculus. You know, I can tell you with certainty, you know, according to our sources, that Trump and his team did not anticipate ever getting removed from the ballot at all. And after the district court's decision in Colorado that kind of left him just off the hook, they thought that would be the end of the road. You know, the Colorado issue was all over. And I'm speculating now, but I assume that the fact that the appeals court has ruled that Trump should be struck off the ballot will come as a surprise to them. I just texted someone at the campaign, and they've not responded to me yet about, you know, kind of what they are thinking. But this is something that has also been weighing on, I think, the lawyers' minds as well, because they have consistently called January 6th, you know, this was a First Amendment thing, this was core political speech. This is an argument they have made in the D.C. federal case, is an argument they've made in their motion to dismiss in Georgia, and this was generally the argument they were settling on with respect to any questions about January 6th and what Trump said at the Ellipse rally. Of course, you know, the D.C. District Court has also, you know, rejected Trump's arguments that the core political speech makes him immune from prosecution because they found, well, Judge Chutkan essentially found that it is not immunizing if the speech was in furtherance of a crime. And I think the fact that this is all piling up necessarily has to change his legal calculus going into the new year.
So we also have the pleasure of having Ruth Ben-Ghiat actually come in a little bit early in the show, historian and NYU professor. Ruth, we talk a lot, you and I, about accountability, what it looks like, what it should look like, and whether or not we're actually ever going to see it in order to protect democracy as we know it. Your thoughts about the fact that now a Colorado Supreme Court has said that Donald Trump not only that there was an insurrection on 1/6, but that he engaged in that insurrection through his personal actions, and that his inciting of the crowd on that day is not protected First Amendment speech. We talk a lot about how Donald Trump elects to use words and speech in order to spur violence or to spur action by the people that follow him.
Yeah, I can't overestimate how important it is for the American people to see this kind of accountability coming down. And I've often said, thinking of what's happened to other autocrats, that some kind of ban would be ideal as a solution. In fact, Silvio Berlusconi, who left office with dozens of indictments, after he left for the final time, he was banned from running for office for 5 years. And this is what kind of deflated his personality cult. And Jair Bolsonaro, a former Brazilian president, is banned from politics or running for office until 2030. So this is something that's been done elsewhere, and I've been saying for some time that it would be something ideal in America, but I did not think that this would happen. And I'm very pleased from the point of view of.
Okay, so you see how MSNBC, they're being very biased against Trump. Colorado Supreme Court removes Trump from the 2024 ballot. But the question is, can't Trump still win? All right. The Colorado court made history Tuesday with the unprecedented freeze in your tracks ruling that former President Donald Trump is constitutionally ineligible to run in 2024 because of the 14th Amendment's ban on insurrections. Holding public office covers his conduct on January 6, 2021. The 4-3 decision removes Trump from the Republican primary ballot in Colorado, which is scheduled for Super Tuesday in early March. However, the Colorado justices paused their ruling so Trump can appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, which can even preserve his spot on the state's primary ballot if the appeal isn't settled quickly. In many ways, the landmark ruling holds Trump accountable for trying to overturn the 2020 election and provides a political punishment for his anti-democratic behavior. The ruling is also a massive vindication for liberal groups and the constitutional scholars of all stripes who champion such 14th Amendment lawsuits despite their long odds. So how many electoral votes does Colorado have? Let's see some. All right, so why does Colorado have 10 electoral votes? So that's a lot of votes. 10 votes is a lot. It's a lot. That's a lot. So losing 10 votes can mean a lot. A lot. And the question is, let's see here. So from 2021 to 20, so Colorado had 9, and they say they possibly got 10 now. So that's a lot. That's a lot. So if other liberal states follow suit, the fix is in because because if the election is held today, Trump actually beats Biden in the polls. If the election is held today, right? He beats him in. Matter of fact, let's go to that real quick. Let's go to that. Let's talk about the sponsor of the video, Surfshark, a comprehensive review of the VPN service. In today's digital age, of privacy and security of the utmost importance. With cyber criminals becoming more sophisticated and governments monitoring online activity, it's essential to take measures to protect your online identity. One way to do so is by using a virtual private network or VPN service. Among the many VPNs available on the market, Surfshark is one that's been gaining popularity. Also, if election is held today, will Trump beat Biden? All right. And see, here we go. This is 12/16. This is why the fix is in. This is why the fix is in. Trump takes significant polling lead over Biden in a presidential race. All right. Recent poll shows former President Trump leading Biden in key swing states that would likely decide the 2024 election, indicating Trump is not just the overwhelming favorite to secure the GOP nomination, but is in strong position to recapture the White House less than a year before the election day. Trump leads Biden in hypothetical matchups, both with and without third-party options on the ballot, including states including Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. According to the fresh polling, Biden carried each of those states in 2020, and Trump would need to flip at least a few of the states if he is to win in 2024. So, as you can see, that's why the fix is in. The fix is in because they know if the election is held today, Biden loses. And these blue states, Colorado is considered a purple blue state. And that's why it happens that way. But anyways, this is Antonio with Team Tigio. Please like, comment, subscribe, as we'll be back in another video. And once again, we will see you next time.